Hello.
Hello. I should say kia ora from Aotearoa today. I'm in New
Aloha
Zealand.
from
Yeah, yeah,
Hawaii, one paradise to
yeah.
another.
One paradise to another. Yes, it's been absolutely beautiful here. I'm spending time in this region because I'm working with the Maori people.
Yeah.
So, life is rough today.
Yeah. I mean, I can see the behind you how rough it is.
Yes, yes, it's rough in paradise.
Everything's better in paradise, even when
Yeah,
it's raining. I'm
this
like,
is
I mean,
true.
I don't dislike the rain, but it's so lovely and warm. It's kind of perfect.
Yep.
So I am so excited about the show today. And one of the things I was really excited about is we're having people that are going to talk about storytelling and filmmaking, and you have this background in performance. And I'd love to have you share a little bit about, because I know that's a big part of Her Many Voices.
It is a big part of us. For most of my adult career, I was in the music industry. And loving the fact that I get to be up on stage and I can tell stories and I can do my music and that sort of thing. But the other part of that was that I was able to do a lot of benefit concerts. And so I decided I'm going to marry the artistic with the humanitarian world. And that's when Her Many Voices was birthed. And we're getting ready to come up on 17 years. I used to
Yeah.
say 17 years in March. Um, and so it's just kind of it's got a life of its own now. And at this point, I don't perform anymore, but I certainly work a great deal with artists. When we first started, our core, our tag was that we were artists responding to humanitarian need.
Yeah.
And now we've grown into including artists, humanitarian workers, the activists, global community. So today we have, well, we
We
are
have some
very
filmmakers.
fortunate. We have three people in the arts world today, and I'm really excited about this.
Yeah, me
Yes.
too. Well, and I also, for those of you that don't know, our opening music is music that Alicia wrote and performed. It's from one of her songs. So,
Yep. Yep.
uh, and I always say the name wrong. Hope is what we got.
Hope is what we got.
I
Yes. And
got
it's actually on Lionel Young's album. I don't, I didn't put it on one of my albums, but it's on his album.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So you can check that out. Well, and we've been doing Earth Day since 2021, and
Hmm.
this year Earth Day is going to feature filmmaking, and uh, and we're going to have some films about the environment and about Indigenous practices and from Indigenous storytellers. So it's going to be a really beautiful new iteration of that celebration of story and Mother Earth.
I'm really looking forward to it. I mean, this is the first. We've done snippets of little videos in the past, and people have submitted their videos, that sort of thing. But this is a whole different level. And it's going to be at Cleo Parker Robinson Dance Theater in downtown Denver. And we're fortunate enough to be, I guess we are going to be in the new part of her facility. They
Yeah.
just finished their structure. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous theater.
Yeah, it's supposed to
Um,
be very state of the art, and I'm really looking forward to the opportunity to bring people together, especially when there's a lot of chaos right now, and I think the way that we find hope is coming into community and building new possibilities together. And artists and storytellers really lead the way. You can't create a new world that you haven't imagined,
right.
and that's the power of that community and that bringing together is we can imagine something that is more cohesive, more reflective of who we all are, more reflective of a future that allows us all to thrive. And so I just feel so deeply inspired by what you've created here and by the opportunity we have to bring everyone together. And some of the folks that are on the show today will be there. So that's very exciting.
That is exciting. Yeah.
Should we
I mean,
introduce
it's
them
been,
or no? Go ahead.
I think, no, let's get on with the
Okay.
show because we do have a lot to cover today. So,
All right. Without further ado.
Hello, good people. We are here with Her Many Voices to talk about the voices of Black storytellers. You may have noticed it's February, technically Black History Month, but for those of us who love Black history, we know that's every month for us. And specifically, I have with me two esteemed storytellers and performers, people who are in the entertainment space, but using their platform to create narratives that open doors for Black folks. And so right now, I mean, I'm looking at folks who I look up to. These are storytellers, actors. First, we got our brother Merrick McCartha. When I first saw brother Merrick, I was like, man, I've seen this dude somewhere. You got one of them TV faces, right? I don't know. Doesn't he? Doesn't he got one
He
of them
does.
TV
He
faces
does.
with that 1,000-watt smile, man? I'm over here looking at, and so it turns out that you've actually done a lot of stuff. He's a consistently working actor, producer, director, and filmmaker whose career spans television, film, commercials, and theater. So you've seen him somewhere, right? Originally from Detroit stand-up, Motor City, right? Trained under the Yale School of Drama, faculty member Gregory Berger Sobek. Wow, okay, so big dogs have taught this brother, right? And the Royal Shakespeare Company, and is an active member of the prestigious Road Theater Company in Los Angeles. And before you say anything, brother Merrick, we gonna play your demo reel. Go ahead and play this brother's demo reel real quick, like.
Well, this is a restricted
I just
area.
received a very disturbing call from my friend Warden Gil Thompson of Palmdale Corrections. I believe you told him a man on your task force was going to oversee the transfer of one of his convicted inmates. Except there was no transfer. Instead, there was a bright idea to aid and abet an escape. Have I lost my mind? Is that what I just said, that you allowed a convict?
Let me stop you right there.
Your investigation destroyed government property, damaged relationships with the DOC, and is in fact right now endangering the lives of Angelenos that I have sworn to protect.
Not necessary. In fact, I'm sorry we dragged you all the way from Boston for this, but it's just that our board will ask if we met Dr. Gray in person when we recommend they fund the project.
He was a retired master sergeant who returned as a contractor to teach our Joint Forces training base, Los Alamitos. The guy was a legend. Trained generations of soldiers in the Army. So it looks like what happened is this individual broke into your home, burglarized it, and in an apparent attempt to escape, tripped, hit his head, and fell into the pool and drowned. The casing you found was from a .308 caliber round. Fits what a sniper would use, and matches the slugs from both scenes.
Ex-LAPD. After his partner quit, we realized Copeland was a problem, and we removed him from duty.
Nice. Now I don't have to worry about anyone disturbing us.
I was hoping you'd feel that way.
Yeah, I hate when people talk during the movie.
You want to try that again? I've watched the two of you together all summer, and that excuse just sounds stupid.
And how'd you grow up with a white father and not know how to golf? Hey, my aunt, Lizzie, she taught me to putt like the elder and cuss like Red Fox.
Just put the gun down, son.
And she felt so guilty about stealing a pack of gum that she woke us up in the middle of the night with a 2-page confession letter.
The fact is, Ellis has been erratic, and there's been no progress on the carbon project. So I think a vote on whether to end his tenure is entirely
As we've said, that's the brother from the thing that you saw. That's the brother from the thing that you saw, and his name is.
I get that. I think I know that dude from somewhere is the very common comment that I get.
Right, but listen, man, you've worked with some dream talent of mine. I've always wanted to work with Angela Bassett and Sterling. You know what I mean? This is wonderful, brother. So thank you for being on here.
Absolutely, I've been quite fortunate, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And before we go any further, now we got to introduce a sister. This is the sister. This is Dr. Karen Moore, right? Filmmaker, poet, visionary storyteller committed to helping dark-skinned Black women, reclaim their identity, self-worth, and beauty in a world shaped by skin tone bias. As a founder of the Color of Beautiful global movement, she creates healing-centered spaces where Black women feel seen, uplifted, and spiritually upheld. I'm loving that. I'm loving
Thank you
that.
so much.
Shout
I'm
out to
so
the
glad
dark.
to be here. Thank you.
Hey, shout out to the dark skinned sisters. I'm married one. You know what I'm saying? So that's what it is. And do we have a reel for our sister right here? I'm not sure. Do we got a reel for you?
Skin kissed by the sun, but they only see shade.
Half the world says I'm too light, the other says I'm not enough.
But they don't see the silence.
They say I'm too angry.
Blues Born of Fire is an epic name. An epic name. Absolutely. So listen, I'm going to start with you, Dr. Karen Moore. And I want to know, the next question is going to be for our brother Merrick, but I just want to know why representation in film and storytelling matter in shaping how people see Black lives. Why do you think representation matters, Doc?
Well, I think it matters because we know how to tell our own stories. And I think it's important that we do tell our own stories. And many times people want to twist the way our stories are done. And many times there's even this idea that there's got to be a white savior in our stories. And many times that white savior really wasn't in the story. So it's really important that we tell our own stories so that they come through with our own emotions, our own feelings, and our own actual experiences that we face. And I don't think that anyone can do that quite the way that we can do it. So it's important for us to tell our stories so that people know exactly the story of the Black experience.
Absolutely. Brother Merrick, I'm going to ask you this from a performer's perspective, as the guy who's on camera with your epic TV face, because that's what it is. But how does identity add depth to performance and audience connection? When you bring identity in as a performer, what layer does that add for you?
As an actor, as a performer, I bring me to every role, whether it's a protagonist or antagonist. And I think what I try to convey to audiences is the humanity of being as a person, whether you have good intentions or bad, or perceived good intentions or perceived bad intentions, that you're a human being. And so when audiences see that you're a real human being, when they see that authentic you and what you're doing, they connect better with that and they identify. And I think it's kind of a soothing, almost cathartic feeling that people get when they watch a performer that's really connecting with them. And different parts of them, like not everybody's, arguably not everybody's all bad or all good, but everyone has these different layers and dimensions, like you said, about them. And so as an actor, I learned to bring out certain aspects of myself to fit into a role that's telling a particular story.
Absolutely. Can you think about a role that you have played, brother, that like you really had to tap into your experience as a Black American? Like, was there a specific role, a time where you was like, man, let me tap into something? And which was that?
Ooh, I think one of the clips in there was a show called All American. And being a father and having a daughter going through, these tribes and tribulations as a young person, then me, identifying with that and bringing that out. And this being a Black dynamic relation, father-daughter, it's like, okay, I get it. I get what you're going through. But there are other times I feel like I did the show 911 with Angela Bassett and Dawn Lewis.
Right, I saw that one.
And that was a challenge because I'm in awe of those two amazing women who, many people understand the iconic nature of their presence on a screen, and me being able to be working with them together was crazy. So I was playing a cop in that, and my parents are both police. So I had to dig deep and kind of calm myself by staying true to my knowledge of what being a cop is like from my parents. But that was just me trying to be cool in front of these women who just blow me away with their art. And I know it's kind of off what you're asking me, but I've just
No, but brother, I can only imagine. You know what I mean?
And that was funny. That scene I shot, that was my first day on set for this show. I did multiple days on the show, and the first day you put me up with Angela Bassett and Dawn Lewis.
Oh my God, dude!
My first scene, I'm like, okay, this is where preparation and all that hard work I did over years has to come up and be about something, because this is where the rubber meets the road, as they say.
Absolutely.
Trying to do something.
The first time I saw Angela Bassett was as Sister Betty Shabazz in Malcolm X.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first time I encountered her talent, and so it was just something that I know I would have a big struggle with maintaining my cool as well. You know what I mean? So that's huge,
Yeah.
And so it's the power of these Black women. You know what I mean? These sisters that represent women on screen, representative of the sisters that we all know. That's why we connect. And so I wanted to know, Dr. Karen, why connection and community is essential in storytelling through media. Why connection to community is so essential when you tell your stories.
Well, I think because you want people to be able to identify with the story that you're telling,
Mm-hmm.
and you want to be able to bring people together in that community. For a lot of the work that I do, talking about colorism, it's very important that I had that connection with women and to understand that I know what you're dealing with. As a darker skinned Black woman, I know exactly what you're dealing with. And when I can tell you my story and you can tell me your story, and we put these stories together and they become part of film or they become part of theater and they can reach even a broader audience, it makes such an important impact. And the things that I've heard women say after they've seen a film or seen something I've done on stage about, I was really able to connect to that and understand where a lot of those feelings came from, and where where my trauma, because people don't always realize that colorism is traumatic. So where that trauma comes from being treated different because of my skin color within not only other communities, but my own community, we're able to bridge that gap and tell our stories and have people connect with those stories and understand that there is healing on the other side.
Right. You probably more than anybody, sister, would know how representation may have changed or hasn't changed in the last few decades when it comes to whose stories get told and who gets cast and whatnot. Have you seen any changes that you've liked or didn't like within this last few decades when it comes to how Black women are represented in media?
I think there have been a lot of changes, a lot of good changes. I think that we're seeing more, in particularly dark-skinned Black women, being portrayed differently than the hooker and the drug addict. And, we're seeing a lot more Black women being portrayed in much better ways. When you look at Viola Davis with How to Get Away with Murder, and you look at Kerry Washington with Scandal. And I mean, I'm old enough to remember Julia with Diane Carroll, and what a difference that even made for Black little girls and Pam Grier, and we all wanted to be Foxy Brown. So, it's this whole issue of the representation is very important, not only to solidify who we are as Black women, but for Black girls who are coming up also, that we get to see Black women in positive roles, in roles that are very powerful. When you talk about the Angela Bassett's and the Dawn Lewis's, in roles that are very powerful, and we're not just, the hooker and the drug addict.
Absolutely. There have been positive changes. For example, I just noted that one of these right-wing guys were very upset that it looks like Lupita Nyong'o was going to be portraying Helen of Troy, which I'm like, the face that launched 1,000 ships could easily be Lupita Nyong'o's face for real.
Yes.
And so, the fact that it's triggering these things means that there's been changes that I think certain audiences don't like. And I'm wondering if that even really adds up to a whole hill of beans when it comes to financially how these stories do, because the facts are Sinners killed it at the box office, regardless of how Black that storytelling was, you know what I mean? As did Black Panther and everything that Coogler and Michael B. Jordan have touched, But I was wondering, Brother Merrick, you deal with casting, brother. Like, you deal with you know, which stories are being told and how you fit in. Have you seen interesting shifts in the dynamics of how Black men are represented when it comes to like storytelling within these last few decades, or maybe things haven't changed? What is your experience with how identities have shifted in storytelling?
Well, my growing up, I'm from Detroit, Michigan. Growing up, being a real big film buff from a young age,
Right.
watching older movies like Claudine or Let's Do It Again or Uptown Saturday Night. These movies, there were a lot of comedy. Claudine was a little bit more of a drama, and then to now, I'm seeing a lot of Black men in positions of power. There's Morris Chestnut, who's always this doctor or a lawyer. You know,
Right.
he's fantastic in that. And when I'm auditioning out there, what happens is I'm seeing them call in people for a role. And they used to have a thing where they say Caucasian male or African American male or whatever in the audition description of the character. They've cut that out by and large, unless there's an absolute reason why this person had to be a Caucasian or African American. And so I audition a lot of roles that I looked up, but I may not get out looked up. It's gone to a white guy. And it's like not for any other reason. I mean, sometimes I may argue that if it's a show or an episode where there's already a lot of Black characters, that I didn't get that part of, oh, they don't want the show to go too Black, is what my thought goes to. Like, it seems to me that they don't
Too Black, yeah,
they
right.
don't want to get too Black, you know. So they have lots of Black people and stuff, but not too many.
Right.
But otherwise, I feel like the door is open for that by and large in Hollywood. But then, like, you're right, there's still this idea of, why can't Lupita play this role? You know, or people, the mermaid thing that happened. What, you know, it was like, it's a fantasy anyway. Why are you, there's no mermaid. Why are you mad? And I've seen that with Black women in particular. It's like people get mad about Black women playing certain roles, and it bothers me. And it's still kind of pervasive. It's like, okay. Or the thing with that Star Wars movie that happened where the African actor or British actor who's playing the lead role as a Jedi, they cut him out of the promo posters in like Asia or something like that because they were like, oh, he's not going to draw a big box office. So it's this idea that you want to include, but you're trying to not show that these Black people can be in positive, strong characters in some instances. And that's where there's still somewhat of a problem because they're worried about box office draw. And the backwards thing about it is they're perpetuating these narratives. They're still trying to stop these narratives of Black people being these weaker or drug dealer or, you know, drug addict or downtrodden characters. But then again, they're like, oh, you can't draw as a leading person and as James Bond because people can't see a Black person in that role, which is false. So by not casting those ways and with bigger other projects like that, they're kind of perpetuating this problem, and that's what we're still trying to get past. But I agree. I think what Dr. Karen is saying about how it affects people of color, Black women, Black men, is it's a matter of, in one instance, it's like you're trying to make sure the world understands that we're not a monolith. We all have different aspects to our lives, our culture. There's people that are aspirational. There's people that are not aspirational. There's people that are insanely smart and intelligent. There's people that are not.
Yeah.
And so you want to have people see that so they understand that we're nothing to be afraid of, or we're nothing that they can't understand, that we are all human in that sense. And on the other side, it's like in our own culture, we have to help other Black people understand that, no, you're seeing this on camera, on screen all these times, and you're thinking, oh, they're not like me, or I don't see as many of my faces. And the truth is we're all out there for each other. And so what's happened over the years is we're seeing more of these roles like Kerry Washington in Scandal and Viola Davis and Angela Bassett in 911, so that we're seeing that we're allowing people to connect and understand that we're all human. We all have, you know, a sense of humanity to us. We can all be in positions of power, and that Black people don't need to feel so alone because we're not represented enough on camera. And we're still got a lot of work to do, but I agree with Dr. Karen that we have made some progress in that, but it's still, I certainly say it's still there.
Certainly has a long way to go in certain aspects. And one of the things that you kind of briefly touched on, brother, is like intra-community perception of how we view ourselves.
Right.
One of the things is that, you know, we all know that they reran the doll test for Black children to see which dolls they saw were beautiful, and the black children still chose the white ones. They still did. Like this was,
Really?
they still
I
did.
didn't see that. Oh wow.
Yeah, they still did it. And of course, what does that do? That creates internalized racism. And one of the ways that internalized racism shows up is colorism. And I know that it is an issue that's often minimized or misunderstood. What do you think, Dr. Karen, is probably the most misunderstood thing about colorism and media representation? What do we need to be clearer about colorism and media representation?
I think we need to be very clear that it's a lot about what Merrick said, in that we need to see people as human beings first and foremost, and that I often say, and not to minimize the idea of colorism, but I say a lot of these different things that we're doing and we're seeing are based on just the melanin. I have more melanin. And so it doesn't necessarily determine who I am as a person. You don't know that until you have a conversation with me. But deciding who I am because I have more melanin in my skin is really a really big problem. And I think that you were talking about the doll test, and I even saw a video of the doll test being done in Italy, and Italian black children were still picking the white doll. And so, it's this idea that we've decided who people are, which goes with all isms. We've decided who people are based on their race or the color, the shade of their skin, or whether they're a man or a woman or whatever it is. We've have all these ideas about who people are without having conversations. So I think that people have decided that, because when you look back at slavery, and this is where it all really started, is with slavery, separating, because a house divided cannot stand. So if you can separate people and make a group of people feel they're better than the other group of people who they're still a part of, if you can do that, then you have control over the people. So I think that people have decided that the most misunderstood thing is that just because you were in the field doesn't mean you were as smart as the person in the house. They just put you in the field because that's where they decided you should be, versus the people that were in the house. Yet we're still all coming from the same place.
Right.
So just to decide that who a person is based on them having more melanin than anybody else is it's just not what we should be doing within our communities and even outside of our communities. So I think there's a big misunderstanding that first of all, that it doesn't exist anymore, which it does. And that we are not really addressing the issue, understanding that we're judging people just like racism. We're judging people on the color of their skin.
Even within the community sometimes. Unfortunately, a lot of us growing up heard colorist jokes. I certainly did. And I'm an 80s baby. So I got here relatively recently compared to some folks, and I still grew up with those colorist jokes, but I didn't realize that they would have like professional connotations as well, And in terms of casting, have you seen, maybe not with yourself, Merrick, but have you seen maybe colorism have some effect on who got casted for what, even if it wasn't with you? Is that something that's been popping up in your experience, sir?
I can't say recently. No, I mean, I see a lot of beautiful things happening, and at least in the television industry. Movies are a little bit different. There's a show called Matlock that's on, where one of the lead attorneys is a beautiful black woman, and she's a fierce force of nature in this show, and everyone respects the heck out of her. She's fantastic. Sky P. Marshall. There's another show called Paradise, where one of the main security officers is this, again, beautiful black woman who is having an affair with the president, which other people have issues with, but she's a powerful black woman in a role. So you're seeing a lot more of this. And I certainly credit people like Angela Davis, Kerry Washington, Viola Davis for ushering that in so that people can say, no, black women are a symbol of power as well. Not all, prostitutes or drug addicts, like Dr. Kieran says. So I can't say I've seen anyone, and I'm trying to think really hard about this.
Okay, no, that's
I mean, one of the great people in Hollywood now is Sterling K. Brown, who always makes his point to not one thing he does with his characters. And he talked about how he learned this going to Stanford. He had a teacher in Stanford that made him understand that his ebonics does not determine if he's speaking better English than someone else.
Right.
He doesn't. I mean, I speak a little bit more proper. Sure, that's my environment. But he doesn't. He's like, no, he will call it, and he will keep that his own ebonic, authentic self for him. He doesn't change it for. I mean, he doesn't really code switch when he's out doing.
Right.
He does not do that, and that's because he's like, hey, I want to be who I am and not feel like I need to code switch for any any interviewer, any person I'm talking to. So I praise him for that as well.
Exactly. So here's what I'm seeing a pattern in. By and large, these positive changes have been brought on by Black folks leading the way about the narrative. It's because we've pressed. It's because we have petitioned, we've auditioned, we've changed the stories, we have written new ones, and that we've led the way in how the world perceives us and what is acceptable and what is not acceptable. I think that we need to give ourselves props because of that. Storytelling is a powerful medium, and supporting Black art, here's what I noticed, because I was an actor for a long time. I guess I still am, kind of a little bit, but certainly a performer. But here was the thing that challenged me when I was auditioning for this, that, and the third. I was always challenged by the idea that I had to fit into somebody else's dream until somebody told me, write your own dream, create your own narrative, right? Storytelling. I wanted to kind of hear your journey as a storyteller, Dr. Karen. Like, what got you into saying that it's time for me to take authorship of not only my representation, but the representation of Black women? What was your journey into that?
I always loved to write. I used to write short stories and things like that. So I always loved to write, even as a child. I loved reading and writing. I came up with parents who insisted that we read. And because, I was one of those kids that you had to read over the summer. You didn't have summer vacation. You had to read a book or two every summer. Okay. And so I started with a lot of writing, and then I got into poetry, and I started doing a spoken word musical theater piece because I also am a songwriter.
Okay.
So
awesome.
I did a spoken word musical theater piece, and that in and of itself connected me with women, Black women, because it was based on the blues that Black women face. And so it connected me a lot with Black women, and I realized how important it was for me to be a Black woman who told our stories. And I think that one of the most important things is telling your story and understanding that if you change one life by telling your story, then you've accomplished a lot. I think some of us so often, we want to be, not that I don't want to be, I do want to be off Broadway or, something to that effect. But, if I can even just change one life locally in my own city by doing a show, by telling a story, by doing a screening, that a little Black girl or even a Black woman can come in and see it, and it can change their life. And so I think that idea of being able to change a life, transform a life, that somebody will walk away and say, I really am beautiful, or walk away and say that the things that people have said to me are just not true. Just to be able to a woman to walk away with that means everything. And so for me, it's about being able to be visible and tell that story, tell my story, tell other women's stories. So people also understand that they're not alone and that there is truth out there. You don't have to accept the truth that you think is told to you as truth, but you decide what's truth for you. And the truth is that you are beautiful.
Sure. Absolutely. And that's very, very powerful. It's part of why I write as well. Brother Merrick, I was wondering, hold on. We've seen him everywhere, but what was your journey into acting, brother? How did you get into saying, this is what I want to do?
Started very young when I was a little kid. I was pretty shy, mainly studious as a kid in grade school. And
Yeah.
I didn't have a lot of faith in my ability to really be outgoing as far as artistically. And there was one class I had where the teacher had all the students come up, and he thought it'd be fun to have us do what I now know as improv, come up on front of the class and make up something. And so my turn came, and I was petrified. I had no idea what I was going to do. Not up until the second that I got on stage. And then I just launched into this thing that just came out of nowhere, and it had the audience cracking up, and that made me realize, oh, there is something there. There's something, and that was the first instance I had a belief in myself that I could be this creative person. And then I did some theater in high school and things like that. But the high school I went to in Detroit is called Cass Tech High School. It's a magnet school, had to get good grades to get in. And everybody at that school is all about, going to college, getting a good salary job and moving forward. And so that was my mindset then. So I left acting behind because in Detroit, I thought acting was still kind of a fantasy. It's like, oh, something maybe I'll play around with sometime later. But later in life, after success as an electrical engineer, I had some connections with people that were in the industry, and sort of these little doors started to open, and I decided I'm going to go full force into this. I don't want to live my life and wonder what if, and that's when it started. So I went and moved forward doing commercials, doing short films, and then I got into TV shows and movies, and it's just been this process of this. Me growing in this industry and learning, because one thing is one thing to know how to act and be a good actor. It's a whole other thing to learn the business of acting, and that was something it's not taught in acting class by and large.
Wow.
I had to get mentorship from other Black actors that had been further along than me, and they helped me understand things. And that's when I understand the casting process a lot better.
Wow.
And understand that. If I go up to a role that's casting for a role, and it's me and a mix of people, Asian guy, white guy, whatever, understand that I have an equal chance as them if I'm given my authentic self. It's only those times and I have these times when I go up for a role, I'm in the waiting room, and there's everybody else is a white dude, and I'm the only Black dude there.
Oh, wow.
Then wow. Oh, okay. But then I learned later on that that means something. That what it's sure they might have had the vision of a white guy, but you brought something that oh, we want to see what this guy can do in person, and that's what got me in the room. And so you learn that in the casting process they have an idea of what they want sometimes, but when you come in and you bring something that is authentic and highly skilled, and you're doing the job, then you change their view of what they need, because they realize, oh, we thought we want this guy, but this dude right here, he knows what he's doing. So that's been a lot of my success path as well. So I don't get intimidated anymore about it, but I understand how people could, and I've seen it happen. People get intimidated, they get nervous, but you have to really understand that you bring something. Your unique you is always going to win if that's what you're presenting. If you're presenting something that you think they like, then you have a lesser chance of succeeding in booking that job. But I want to get to Dr. Karen. I love Dr. Karen's theme about the colorism with Black women, because I feel like on camera, it's so important for women to see that. Black women. I mean, Dr. Karen, your story, just the clip we saw earlier about how people perceive you based on your melanin, it's a real thing, and it still continues. And I think that's where we have a more road to advancement in that, because I think that's, as many things that are kind of prevalent or still happening, that is still a very, very prevalent thing that's happening in the industry.
I think it is too. Yeah. I've heard Viola Davis talk about it.
Yeah.
Lupita Nyong'o talk about it. That it's still very difficult for darker skinned actresses. And it's interesting too when we were talking a little earlier about casting, and there's even been issues about how lighter skinned women have been casted for parts that of famous people that were darker skinned. I think it was a big issue. I think it was Zoe Saldana that was cast as Nina
As Nina
Simone.
Simone. Yep,
And
I was
people were
gonna
like,
go there.
are you kidding me? And that she
Right,
had to wear a prosthetic nose. And
right.
so it's still that issue. There was another issue about Stagecoach Mary. I can't remember the actress that played her, the light skinned actress, but Stagecoach Mary was a darker skinned woman. But when they did the film, they hired a light skinned woman to play Stagecoach Mary. So yeah, there still is
Right.
that issue. I think even when we're talking about portrayal of should I say of real women, that a lot of it's not mixing in as to you casting women who look like the woman that you're talking about.
Right. And a lot of times I find it's more than just dark skin that seems to be the challenge, but historically Africoid features.
Good point.
Like it's not just the fact that the sister would be a shade. It's the fact that like a more Bantu facial structure. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Would be considered not as beautiful, right? And I've really kind of gotten into that as somebody who like studies just facial features because I'm also an artist. I draw, and I was telling somebody one day, if you were to draw for me, let's say we're doing cartoons, and I say, draw me the nerdy intellectual. Just draw me the nerdy intellectual. It would often be a gracile featured, pointy nose, glasses wearing, you know what I mean? Very Slavic looking, nerdy person, right? When you just say a guy walks into a bar, if you don't qualify it as a black guy, it's the default is white, and therefore the features are also part of the Eurocentric beauty standard. It's not just the skin. It's the beauty and norms. Beauty standards are not just about what we find attractive. It's what we find normal.
Right. And these are the layers, right? These are the layers. Yeah.
Right. It's not just the skin. It's the Africoid features that are historically from West Africa specifically, because as we know, African features vary across the continent. Historically, West African facial features and body type in general. We see these racist memes about Michelle Obama's body, about Serena Williams's body. You see what I'm saying? Because they are robust, the racists often, and I'm talking about the like, not just like, I'm not talking about people who are not bigoted. I'm talking about people who are explicitly bigoted here. Make the robust body types that we have, women have, quote unquote masculine. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, which confuses me because as a man, not just a black man, I don't find any of that necessarily masculine.
At all, brother.
I mean, I'm like, hey, this is what a woman is supposed to look like.
This is what a woman's supposed to look like.
If their ideal is, oh, she's got to be frail and thin and whatever, it's like, that's not. I don't know.
That's one form of a woman. That's one form, and that may be somebody's type.
Yeah,
but
don't make it a standard for all women. Like,
it ain't.
Yeah.
It ain't. We are.
And don't even talk about our hair.
Right.
Don't even get on the hair talk.
And then there's the hair, right?
Then there's the hair.
Right. So more historically, West African hair. I'm specifically focusing on West African features because I want to acknowledge the diversity of the African continent, but specifically West African features, hair, skin, nose, lips. You know what I mean? Not just considered beautiful, but not considered normal. You know what I mean? And I think that Black women, have a more difficult battle to make that is mainstream accepted than Black men do. I have seen a more historically phenotypically Black the Africoid men being venerated for their virility and power, but I haven't seen that as often seen as beautiful in the feminine light by mainstream, because we be feeling how we be feeling, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But by mainstream for Black women. And so I just wanted to put that context about it's not just the skin, it's other unmixed, or shall we say historically West African features that I've yet to be accepted. And that be difficult sometimes when you're a child looking into the world. And if you look like that, not seeing that accepted, how then can you accept yourself? You see? And that's why the work you're doing, Dr. Karen, is so important.
I was going to ask Dr. Karen, what are your thoughts on that? The idea that not just the skin, the melanin, but also the physicality, the physiology of the Black woman, and how that muscular or just robust build is considered not as feminine somehow.
Yeah, and I think that unfortunately, Black women have gone through so much to be able to fit in. And we've done things to our hair, we've done things to our bodies, we've done things because we feel that we are not accepted. And unfortunately, this is one of the problems that comes with young Black girls, is seeing this idea of what is beautiful, whether it be skin or hair or physique or whatever it is, that it's being perpetrated on them, that this is what beautiful is. And I think every little girl wants to be beautiful. Every little girl wants to feel like she's beautiful to someone. And, it's one of the things I would say to my husband is that, you make sure you tell your daughter she's beautiful before anybody else has the opportunity to do that. So, yeah, it's important that young girls, and especially that Black men tell their daughters how beautiful they are.
Yes.
Black men have to do that. And, they always say that, boys need their fathers but girls need their fathers too.
Right.
And it's important that Black men tell their daughters how beautiful they are and how valuable they are and how worthy they are. So that little girl grows up having known that there was a Black man who felt that she was valuable and beautiful. It's very important that we do that.
Right.
And even if you're a Black man that doesn't have a daughter, but you've got a niece, or you have some kind of influence over a little Black girl, tell her how beautiful she is and how valuable and worthy she is, so that she can grow up and not be in a position where she's believing that from every little boy that comes by and tells her that.
Right. We definitely, I'm a 2-time girl dad, so that charge has been squarely put upon my shoulders. And I just wanted to say, did any of you guys have any closing thoughts about what is needed to make the world a better place for performers and actors like us, especially in this time period that we are living in? I didn't even get into that, but what's the most salient point that you can impart to our audience before we draw it to a close? I'll start with ladies first. Dr. Karen.
I would say that it's that we support one another, that we really come together and support each other's work and come together, especially as a community. When I found out that Merrick was on Countdown, I made sure I watched every episode, because that's what we have to do.
Right.
And just like we turned out, and we have to do it especially for independent artists. Just like we turned out for Black Panther, and like we turned out for Wakanda Forever, and we turned out for Sinners, you got to do that also for independent artists. And we as a community have to really begin to support our independent artists who are independently telling our stories, and who are doing it many times with very limited resources. But we're still out here and we're telling the story because we want people to know our stories. So it's very much that we support each other and support individual artists in everything that they're doing. I mean, this is something that morally or ethically or whatever doesn't agree with you.
We don't want the bad
But, in the meantime, let's support each other.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, anything that you wanted to impart, Brother Merrick, before we draw?
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with what Dr. Karen is saying, is that us being community and supporting each other and making that connection and connecting with each other and realizing the value that each of us has as an individual and the beauty that each of us possesses as an individual, and not let any of these media influences or whatever try to trick us into thinking that there's something in any way wrong with us, with our shape, with our melanin level. None of that. And as much as I would want to, the racists and bigots out there, for them to realize their racism and bigotry is harming them.
Yeah.
Right.
it's their problem. It's like, I'd love for them to understand that how their racism is harming them, because when they're attacking programs that are benefiting people that are, considered minorities in America, those programs are mainly being used by them.
Right.
These ideas about Black people and how they can achieve this or that,
Right.
they are weakening themselves because they don't understand that they're under some spell by someone else. That
Right.
the only way they can be better is that by looking down on someone else, and so they're losing it. This is what's happening right now. This is my little foreign
No,
politics.
brother.
But I would say that yes, again, being in community with each other, supporting each other, and start to let ourselves be more outgoing to and outreach with each other.
Yes.
Express ourselves and feel free to express yourselves how you uniquely are, and let that be okay.
Absolutely. I think that one of the ironies is that to create unity amongst Black people, oftentimes it is most important to center the people in that. The people, the artists, the thing that is intangible with us, that is actually often missing. I've seen people align on ideology, and I've seen people really see that the solution to a certain thing is like this external action, but it really do be an internal thing oftentimes. Just support, love, friendship, connectivity, community, and understanding why it's important to the greater views of America that we show up with a unified front and with each other's back, and in putting some positive into the world. We've had enough ratchetry and insanity, so. But I'm with two artists here who are putting the right thing out into the world in terms of representation and narrative for Black faces and Black voices. And I really do appreciate Dr. Karen Moore and my brother Merrick, man. So good to finally meet you, bro.
Good to meet you as well.
Thank you very much. Also, just want to say, make sure that you stay tuned to Gaia Gossip and to Her Many Voices, because I have to reiterate, on April 18th, we're having our Earth Day celebration at Cleo Parker Robinson. Make sure that y'all do attend that. And we got some beautiful things to show to you that day. I'll be there, and hopefully some more folks.
I will be there. I will be there also for the
I'll be there also.
for the Earth Day created film experience, and it's going to be a focus on Indigenous storytelling and voices and imagery. But we're all going to be there in Denver, Colorado, and Aisla, who's going to come on in a second, might want to tell us more about that. But yes, definitely good to know you're going to be there too, Theo.
Absolutely. I'll see y'all there then.
Yes.
Appreciate you.
You know what? I just want to say thank you all. Thank you all for doing the work to change those stereotypes that have been portrayed since the founding of America. The Black experience, the Indigenous experience, the Asian experience, all of us, we have experienced those stereotypes that need to be changed. I live in the Netherlands, and right before leaving for this trip, I went to the film Breakfast at Tiffany's. I hadn't seen it since I was a little kid. And there is Mickey Rooney in this full Asian role, this comedic Asian role. And I'm like, wow, and I know, Dr. Karen, you had mentioned, if you can possibly separate people, then you can take advantage, right?
Yes.
You can do all sorts of damage. Yes. And I know that happens on a regular basis. There have been plenty of tables that I've been invited to because of how I look. There are plenty of tables I have not been invited to because of how I look. Yes. And the conversations that can have amidst your own people because of, well, just where is this color spectrum of your skin? Where is your hair texture? How do you speak? Is it the education that we put up here, or the separation goes on and on and on? So the fact that you are all doing the work that needs to be done, thank you so very much from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you for platforming us.
I appreciate each and every one of you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I look forward to seeing you all at Earth Day.
Yes.
We shall see you there.
See you there.
Yes, we will.
Okay.
All right. It's Theo EJ Wilson with Gaia Gossip. See you next time where I saw you this time. Peace, peace.
Thank you again for joining us at Her Many Voices Gaia Gossip. Remember, whatever you do for another, you do for yourself. For more information, head over to hermanyvoices.org to learn more about other programs and get involved. From all of us at Gaia Gossip and Her Many Voices Foundation, thank you, and until next time.